Hey, what's up guys, and welcome back to Pre-Production for the Modern Guitarist. In today's video we are now going to finally get into the recording phase, so I'm going to show you guys how I set up some of my tools and some of the things that I like to use actually when I'm tracking. One of the things I would recommend having too is some headphones, like I was talking about in one of the earlier videos. This is good because it allows you to really hear what you're doing. Sometimes when you're hearing stuff blasted over speakers, it might be kind of hard to distinguish everything. So get some headphones, the DT770 Pros. There's another one I think above this one, but these are really good. They're really comfortable, so that's also good for tracking. And also too, fingeries. This stuff is really cool, man. It's kind of makes the strings a little more slick, a little more easier to play. Your fingers don't kind of get stuck to the strings too much, lets it really glide. So I would recommend getting some of this stuff too. I used to use this stuff live a lot and it works really well, and it's even good even if you're just practicing, so pick up some of this. Alright, so without waiting any longer, let's get into it. Alright, so for the way I set up my tools for my mouse, what I do is my left click, I have it just for clicking stuff, selecting things, moving stuff around. Right here for my command tool, I have it as set up as a crossfade. You can set it up as other stuff like a pointer tool, pencil, eraser, but I have mine is a crossfade, so it makes it easier. And for my right click, I have this set up for cutting. Right here, my scissor tool. And I think in Mac you have to manually go into your preferences and set up your right click to where you can actually use it. So you might have to go ahead and go into your preferences and set that up if you're using Mac. But yeah, I have the setup too, and also I have it set up somewhere in my preferences to where if I go below the bottom half of my WAV file or audio file, I can select stuff with this. It uses a marquee tool. I can select things, or if I want to cut stuff, I can double click. So you can also set that up too. It's somewhere in your preferences in Logic. I'm sure other DAWs have that too. So, and then also too, right here I have in Snap I've set it up for ticks because sometimes you want to be able to move stuff a little more fine. And in the drag section I have it set up as crossfade, so if I have a WAV file, and you'll see this when I actually start working, if I have, let's say I cut something and I want to bring it back, instead of having to bring it back and then making a crossfade, as I drag two WAV files together, it automatically crossfades. So it's very helpful, and one less thing you gotta do. So that's always nice. So, alright, and then what I like to do before I start recording is down here, there's auto punch. Select that, and then I have this pretty much set up along the entire song. And then what I'll do is I'll just, if I record up to a point and stop, then I'll maybe drag it back a little bit, start recording from there. And auto punch is good for when you're recording yourself, and I do that a lot. So, I don't have someone here to manually punch me in, so by having auto punch, that's good because you can do it by yourself, you don't need somebody, so, which is always nice. And another thing I want to mention too, if you're recording, make sure you turn down the volume on your speakers, because if you have a click going, more than likely your pickups are going to pick it up, and you don't want to hear that when you're tracking. So I always recommend turn down your monitors, and you're already using headphones, so that's how you're going to be able to hear it. It's one of the reasons I got headphones too, actually. Alright, yeah, so we're going to get my headphones on. Now I haven't really rehearsed this song too much, but I mean the whole point is because this is pre-production, so it doesn't have to be all crazy perfect. Yeah, let's get going. So I'm going to go ahead and record arm my track. And let's see. Alright, so let's start tracking. let's do our other side. I usually try to do each riff as I go. It really depends. The reason I want to do this next part first is because it has this little guitar break that leads into the next riff, so that way I can kind of hear it a little bit better. So. So let's use this as an opportunity to punch in. Let's see, what is this? Alright, so that's the part I want to punch in on, because I kind of screwed it up. So set this. I always like to set it behind the auto punch, because sometimes I think you can't hear it the other way around. Yeah, so I actually am playing the wrong part here. Alright, so let's go ahead and punch in again. Yeah, so this is one of the cool things about doing pre-production. You can just punch in. And I always like to have my tabs open as a reference too, so that way if I forget some parts, I'll have it open right here. Alright, so so yeah, I'm just going to go in and punch in here. Alright. Also, another thing I want to mention too, when you're punching in, always make sure you bring this back a little bit behind what you just played and play into it, because that way it's going to sound a little more natural. It's not just going to sound punched in. It's going to have a little more of a natural flow, as if you were already playing it. So, little thing I like to mention. Screwed that up a little bit. Let's see. Let's go. Not bad. Let's go over here and see where I. Yeah. Let's see. I'll just punch in right here. Make it easy. It's always nice when you can punch in when there's gaps too. So. So let's go ahead and flatten and merge. Just going to add a little crossfade in there. Alright, so I'm happy with that. I think that should be fine. So let's go ahead and, alright, so it's not connected. Let's just go ahead and fine tune our crossfade. Bring this back. Let's select this and this. Bring it back a little bit. We'll do our crossfade now. Why not? Might as well, since we're. Oops. I don't want that to be connected. Drag this back a little bit. Alright, cool. Yeah, so I like to kind of do some of this stuff while I'm doing it, just because sometimes I'll record and then I'll come back and do it, but it really depends on what you want to do. Alright, so let's go ahead and bring this back. We're going to do our other guitar. So I'm going to start right here. So, alright, hit our record enable. Oh yeah, trying to remember some of the harmonies in here. Alright, so let's record. Screwed that up. Alright, let's see. Alright, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and redo that. Kind of forgot there was that little thing there, that little twiddly-do. So let's go ahead and punch that bastard in. It's not a very long song. It's just, it's like maybe an idea or something to get a song going. The idea of crossfades is because when you cut audio, sometimes you don't cut it in the right spot. And you can get pops and stuff. So by adding crossfades and fades in general, you can round that off so you don't hear these little cuts in the audio. So let's go ahead and go to the beginning. See what we got here. Go ahead and do a crossfade here, or fade, I'm sorry. So for the most part, see, that's why I like the whole X fade on the dragon thing, because usually if I record over the audio, it's already there. I just have to kind of peel it back a little bit. So let's see. Let's hear what we got so far. in this little section right here, there's these little pauses. What you can do is, if you don't want to hear little noise, let's say, here, let's solo this and hear how it sounds. Hold on. Let's check this crossfade real quick. Let's just peel it back just a little. Alright, so let's hear how this sounds. So you hear that little hissing because Mercurial doesn't have a built-in noise gate, and I don't really feel like throwing one on because I'm lazy. So go ahead and just take this. This is what's cool about the marquee tool. You can just kind of like highlight, delete, and then throw in your crossfades. It's good to listen. Alright, faster. There we go. Sometimes Logic likes to piss me off. Alright, so let's just go ahead and solo these and hear how this sounds. Alright, that sounds pretty tight. Now let's hear it with everything. Yeah, so this is more of like when you have your final takes and you're kind of making everything sound clean, because you don't want to send this to a mixing guy and make them have to edit. They don't want to do that. If you're sending stuff to get mixed, that's all they're going to do. They're going to charge you extra if you're trying to make them edit your stuff. So, and also it's good to get good at this kind of stuff, because it's one less thing you got to pay for, which is the idea of doing home recording. You're trying to save money, and also, it's fun to do. Alright, so that's cool. Now let's hear how this sounds. Alright, yeah, so this is pretty much how I go about tracking. I'm not going to show how I track bass. It's pretty much the exact same way as this, so I don't need to make a video for that. So after this, pretty much we're going to start getting into the mixing phase. I'm going to start mixing drums, guitar, bass. I'm going to show you guys how I do that. And then from there, we'll get on to throwing a couple things on the master bus, so that way you can have it sound a little more close to a finished track when you send it to your band, or anybody really. If you notice there's a little bit of clipping going on, that's fine, because when we get into the mixing, I'm going to show you guys how I go about gain staging the mixing side of things, and because you got to have headroom for when you're going to start doing any kind of mastering stuff, or else it's just going to sound like garbage. But yeah, so after this we're going to start getting into mixing drums, and until then, adios.